Good morning. And at the end of the song, what seems like a nice breaking point. Alright, so I have to remember where I was. I know I was working on the random selection of names. So we had to redo our name completion bit to work in several different scenarios. And we still need to make this actually random. And we're trying to get prefix filtering to work. And from the logging we had before, it looked like the loop was hitting early termination. Ew, got some trailing spaces there. Yep, I always try to do this in the root directory. Well, we wanted to look at the build. Look at the logs anyway. What? I must have connected to live at some point. Unless it was a bunch of names I had used earlier in the session. Oh no, this is, okay, this is name at, yeah, okay, this is not player name at, this is in fact the debugging I was looking at. CD game source, living life, actually, or names mostly. It's trying to filter to a B. We rendered it at H. Went D to A to C to A to C to C to C. We finally hit a B, so that was fine. I probably need to do something in the superstructure to make it easier, or in the place that calls this, to make it clearer what we're calling it for. Then we try to do it again. We get a different traversal and in Becquerel. I need to remember how this worked. Name completion. So we're calling the find close. Looking for IM. Previous name. I think I had a note about the fact that we're kind of doing double work here, possibly. And this trailing name match. And then I'm not sure what took so long there. Okay, so that's all of those cases. I'm gonna get this set up. Make and copy onelife.exe. Build Windows. This poor thing evolves a little bit every time I come in here. Was there even a data update since last time? Anyway. Becquerel. Oh, Beckert. But it's pretty much, well, and then those did a little bit different. Looking for IM previous name on a B. We stopped at Brandy. But then we go down to suggestions. That's something we could possibly reuse. But it worked. So, previous name, Beckerly. And it doesn't seem like we found it. 32,160. 38,316. Wait. 38,316. Are these not actually alphabetical? Because that's a BR. At 35. Wait. My lower bound is never updating? Well, okay, so this traversal did never hit the lower bound, okay. Hit the B before it hit an A. So Hein is too high, so we move that down. We selected 43, we looked at Hein, made that our upper bound. Once again, it's still too high. Went to A's, so that moves up our lower bound. Picked 49. 24 hit 26, moved up our lower bound. Then our upper bound, got a 35, BR. So 35,291 is Brandy. How are we getting a... No, 38. How are we getting a BE at 38? Oh, this is all the files in it. Could probably try... Maybe if I try to do edit, I could name complete off of that easier. Now, this is last names. Okay, line number 5092. 9019. I'm apparently doing something wrong with my offsets here. Because this is saying 31, 30, 38, 30, 16. Well, BR Andy is at 35, 291. So I'm doing something very, very wrong here. And there's only, okay, there is more than one name at. But we're looking primarily at the terminations here. How the heck? Is Brandy at like line 9000 having a very similar and lower offset than Becquerel? I mean, in the large, some of this stuff seems to make sense. I mean, like the B's are down around the 30s. But I feel like I'm missing something here. We get our initial one. And we're not like accidentally modifying in name list. Oh, if we hit end. Okay, we never hit end. We'll just pick that and stop. I have this stuff disabled right now because it's part of his old algorithm. Wait. All right, because that's the uppercased version of it. How is it possible for those offsets to be backwards? Oh. No, because it's the bottom of this case. The bottom of this case. We didn't reach top bound, and we didn't reach range collapsed. Last diff, yeah, up to that length. It matches, so that makes sense. But how is BR less than BE? I almost need to be able to dump a large area around the point to see if memory is actually what I think it is. But they've all been converted to actual strings, so it would have to be an actual memory dump of some sort. How? Wait, that's a reselection. Okay, so I'm not printing that in maybe all situations? No, that's there, that's there. Right, because it's reversing in two different directions. Although, actually, that selection is the same. It's just we have our adjustment and our bound checking, and then our other bound checking. And whether we're looking forward or back for the name. Colin Calloway, Brenton Bish. Fiona Iris. Beckham at 32. There's a BR at 72? A BO at 65? Where is... Jenkins is probably a minor gems thing. Because maybe that's not an int. Oh, so maybe I'm just printing it wrong. No, it was random bounded. What? Okay, apparently it's case sensitive. Edge bounded stereo. Pipe stream. Virtual. Random source 32. So Jenkins must replace some core stuff. Yeah, so it's just an int. There's some sort of core number generator that gets used by other things. You don't understand how D works? Signed decimal integer. I'm assuming that's platform size since both are unspecified. Unfortunately, I don't know. Well, I don't know which of these are happening, but really, we can do this here. Because both cases are going to go there. So now we're down to 1. So what I can look at is %p plus %d equals %p. So in name list and offset and in name list offset. Yep, previous person died. Okay, oh. Double pass there. Oh, that would be an exact match, because it wasn't updating it. Alright, so that address is always the same. I might have to do this as integer so I can check the math easier. One two five eight 228 88. Wait. Is that a printf error or a wrong item error? First name, oh no, this is a UR. Last name is an IM. That is IM. I want. Okay, so that was an oopsie. We'll be looking at slightly different examples. But it shouldn't have changed the offsets. Or it shouldn't have changed failures within that series. Just the exact numbers. Or I guess it would affect previous name detection, but... Bello, Bonia... Maybe I was just switching back and forth between... It's not as random as I'd like. Between the two lists, and there was like a similar thing in each. You are surprised, or I am surprised. Bonia, Torillo. Prefix Bonia was the first thing? Okay, B, High School, Duba, Brugman. Okay, we found one. Looking for previous name, looking for suggestion. Got Bello, got the double look there. So, looking for previous name, Bello. Found it. Find a suggestion for B, Bonia. So the end is more interesting, I guess. What were we? Were we doing a bad? We are doing a bad prefix. We pick up the previous name. Oh, wait, looking for previous name. Okay. Looking for suggestion. So we are not handling our prior state correctly. Previous name is fine. Previous name. Where is suggestion? Previous name, Bushio. Did not find reach top bound. I would expect Bushio to be maybe one above that. So too low, Brusky. Bushio, okay, so still lower bound. Dansky cuts off a lot of the top end. C, 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 C. Bushio. Oh, well, we know from the one that found it that it's at 79065. $79.95. 76. Buckaloo, Bushio. Why did we reach top bound? Lower bound equals offset. Oh, did I... So we did a string compare. This is about to update the top? All right, this is about... So we said last diff is up, so we're traveling up. In the positive sensor rearranging code, yeah. Some people try to use Cracker for the criminals breaking into things, but that didn't get hackers told hacker a lot. Reach top bound. We're updating the lower offset. Yeah, that text is wrong, or it doesn't feel right. So it says the difference is up, and I'm kind of basing this on target prefix test string. And generally it's moving in the right direction. So it's higher, so we want to set our lower bound to there. This is saying that our lower bound is exactly where we were. Wait. Does offset matter in this case? Well, it's about to do lower bound equals offset, so it better. So we picked our initial offset. Said if it's up, we want to start our search at the beginning. And that's saying the difference is up, but we can't actually advance our state at all. So we've had 79,048 to 79,051. Oh. So our previous move was down. We overshot a bit. Or rather, we selected essentially the same word. Or a word at our lower bound. The previous move was down. That's after adjustment, I think. Oh no. Get name offset. So that's after adjustment. So our lower bound should have been a word. 7948 is butcher, so that should be way more than... How do we even get a 7951? That's supposed to be... I guess I need to know... Well, our last step... Well, we don't necessarily know what this is. Well, no, because we select random bounded int. We get down here and say name at. Oh, so this is the selection. This is where it rounded to. Then it goes back around and says, oh, well, that was our lower bound, so we can't do anything with that. And it's random numbers. So accepting the first pass when we're at our starter bounds, We've probably looked at our boundary name before. But because we're using the start of the name as the boundary, we could select a value inside of the name, go back to there and get an early termination for hit top. Or we failed to advance anyway. But what would, I'm thinking I could then exclude the lower bound word. But you'd still have to make sure you were looking at that word for matches. We can randomly select something that is not the lower bound, but is still in that bound's word. Yes, this is one of the reasons I didn't like the idea of just using the buffer locations versus working out the actual indexes. So I'm still not sure. I still don't feel like I've got an explanation for the BE versus BR thing. But maybe, oh, maybe that was a first name versus last name and they had very similar names in them. That might explain that. All right, so let's get rid of this noise. No, we want that one. So we pick an initial offset, we move forward on the first one. Do we want to move forward on the first one? Okay, yes, it has limit handling, which could be an interesting thing in and of itself. No, for getting him offset back. If it's 0, just 0. Okay, so that. Okay. Go forward, it will bounce back if it needs to. That means forward will in general, well, if it's limit, not if it's upper bound. Might be an interesting scenario. So we see if it's up or down. If it's up, we bring our lower bound up, but that means making sure, we want to make sure we're making progress if we're just stuck on a word that doesn't match. Because we're all, so, on our very, very first pass, we're going to immediately test the word, so that's fine. Our lower bound is going to be the entire thing. So I guess we're more concerned about the case where we move down because of how that lines up with the start of the word and not. So we're possibly bringing that down. Our upper bound to offset. So that will actually exclude the word that we just looked at, I think. So when we go up, lower bound equals offset. So we could potentially look at that word again. So if I said if we're going to move up, we need to advance past this word somewhere. Or even oh no. Wait, we're moving our lower bound up to this. And then if that hits our upper bound, I'm just not sure. So we can update offset. Do we update it before checking equivalence or after? Because it could be not equal. Well, if we're because we're about to set it to equal, that would be no movement. This would be movement. If these cross, we get range collapse. I think that removes the need for this because we're always going to be making some state change. And dead again. Bonia, Bigner. Okay, we seem to be kind of stuck on Buchanan there. Haskell, Duba, Brueggerman. Strictly below. Previous name below. Took a lot of iterations to find it, but it got there. 41,753, 41,767. Yeah, very, very small range. And then we are picking up with B again. B, B, B. Okay, so somehow we reset previous name Bucharee, suggestion Bucharee. Oh, we didn't find it. Was that a no? Maybe this is my advancement. Bucco reached bottom now. So we moved down. And upper bound equals offset. Is bounded int inclusive? What if we did every loop we're using offset. I might have to either do -1 or just kind of do the same word advance thing. Because we already looked at that word. But if we go back an entire word, then it's only going to look at that previous word if it hits it exactly. So really, you might want to do a -1 there. Okay, there's a reach bottom. Test 0, test 0, test 1. Okay, so it is inclusive. So get random bound and int upper bound. Do I want to say that's upper bound? Or does random bounded int need to... equals offset, equals limit. Oh, but if we're testing for equal, we then have to do that. So it was probably about 3 places either way. Either the bounded int has to not include that final name, or you have to watch your... Well, now we're stuck on Ben. So I think that is the problem with it not clearing. Reached bottom. Looking for suggestion. Benson. Well, it's going to be the same search. More or less. Benson. 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 So we had 4377. There's still a bit of range there. To 44... Wait. What? How do we select 44.7 for our top range 43447? 6. Because we selected a point that was very near the top. And we went word forward. Oh, because it always goes in direction of travel. It doesn't necessarily go back to the nearest pointer that's in that. Which, and that does clear up some of my concern, well, about the size of the name being its proportion of being hit. This makes it depend both on it itself and the word below it a little bit. But anytime we move up, we advance a word forward. Which means we can hit that top bound. Maybe I just have to always move back. That makes it proportional to word size pretty strictly. But that moving forward word means our bound isn't really a bound. And it's get name offset forward that is confusing me. That's first one is kind of arbitrary. Oh, but this is before we've selected. So yeah, move one up. We've seen that name. This isn't the code I'm not using right now. I still have to see if I want to use that. I don't think I do, but I want to see what it does in the context of a working algorithm here. Okay, I think we had a problem. Or our suggestions. Yeah, our suggestions pick up something else at some point, and that's a different problem. Oh, no, that happens when we don't find the previous name. So we were looking for Browner. We got we selected our top item of our list. Looking for Browner. We found bronze. Browner. What was our termination condition? That wasn't 200 cycles. No, it reached bottom. Reached bottom happens when we don't advance our state. So we selected our upper bound as a random thing. I'd have to check. Braun burger would be below, so we were moving forward. Browner, Browner, Brown burger. 699. Yes, that moved forward. burger. So bottom of loop, we test that. BE, we decide we need to move forward. Right, we updated this, went past a little bit. We got the upper bound. And we selected upper bound. We're only checking against the limit, so we went word back. What? No, we picked the upper bound, we went word back. We printed no, that's not the bottom. But we selected 7005. That's not a valid choice. Oh, if I go back one from a word start, that's actually the 0 character. So maybe it's set up to advance past that if it's the first thing. Yeah, we seem to have gotten stuck on something here. Okay. Prefix B, Bach. So we failed somewhere. This might be a name prefix thing. Suggestion, we got Bach. Oh, one of these needs to be exact. This is kind of the prefix problem. I might want to change how I do this and just keep around what the last suggestion was, and if it's unchanged, we just continue doing more. Otherwise, we restart. Because we chose a different string that had that prefix, and that kind of ended up resetting what our prefix was. But we seem to have fixed the issues directly with the search algorithm. Well, maybe we'll leave that in for a little bit. Living life. This was, what was, I might want to make a step here. Yeah, this was already a pretty big rewrite. Probably want to leave debugging in for now. Because I know I'm going to be working on this some more. So the change was... Is this where we're rewriting the names algorithm completely? I think this might be the complete rewrite to make it actually random. uh... Yeah, one thing I might be able to remove is this whole thing, step backward at our... Yeah, this is like looking for stuff around us. Which no, I can never... I'm always terrible at reading his brace style. Alright, and then what we need to do is, I think that detecting the previous name doesn't work as well when we're detecting exact player names. So we've got original completion text. Do I care about the length? I could just use the buffer size. Because we can just do that as... Alright, so when we put in a completion, it's actually going to look a lot like capturing this was last completion text. Say up to the maximum length. We're not capturing length. And then we want to say... So the whole purpose of this is to say, do we currently have a match? So that might take over this entire section here. And then these tests just move down here. Name text only used there. So I might just be able to say if cern comp cur text last completion text up to the limit. We know our bracketing. Then we capture this. Oh no, if it's what? If it is 0, or actually if it is not equal to 0, we capture this. Does that work on the first cycle? Because that's full string, that should be fine. Now do we do need to do cur name index though. If we're doing that case. Oh, one thing I do need. So this is not equal? If it's not equal, capture it. We need capture you and you. And in the case that it's not one of those, actually, that means we can move that down here. So I think all this goes, the double search goes. We don't need the flags anymore. Alright, there was a pig running around up here at some point. Alright, and then it's completing off of that. Oh, that's probably the only completion of Brill. Okay. And then that's actually doing it with no prefix. I do kind of like having the list of names in my other app, but... Oh, this does have the slight long name bias. I pretty much turn the list of names to get around that. Wait. Are these last names? Yeah, I think I managed to get this. I think I managed to get these backwards somewhere. Maybe I was using name detection. Oh, yep, I got these crossed up when I was. I must have switched the order when I was doing the two different cases. You are first name. I am last name. Okay. These seem like more reasonable names. And then I am. Okay. So that's still working. So now we clean up. Okay, so that's not mine. Names. Now this is stuff I could see needing to debug again. Oop, I had a warning there. Oh, names.cpp. Okay. That was his original detection. I guess I didn't need the sign per se. And then our log should be pretty small. Use use a buffer for detection of still on last completion. Okay, so that could probably use, and that should still fall under our age limitation because we're using the code from before. Max length, yeah, safe field length, that's what that is. So we'll want to test that today. Okay, persist. Has there been any? No. At this point, I'm assuming Jason's done for the week, and I don't think there's been any client updates. Or at least there's been no new tags pushed to the OneLife repo that I've noticed. He's been working on a lot of heat stuff and server performance stuff, which I think is all server side. Network stress. Let's see, last Thursday. Actually, well, okay, so this week Thursday is last week Thursday. Last Tuesday. Data version number. Yeah, binary client, we already have that. That would be flight. So he did this, but then min distance speed, and then removed that code. Takeoff is server, landing strip is data. That could be client or server, but I don't think there wasn't a tag published when I looked earlier. Reflector, server. Received. That could be server or client. Living life. Okay, so that is client. Rolled back. Oops. Player creations. That might be a client. So he's doing stuff. I've not seen a release go out though. More rolled back changes. Removing the need for any client change, able to roll back related parts of code to 195. Updated data version number, so there may have been a data update. Flight direction, that should be server. This is okay, this is client. But I've not seen a published update. And then he started working on heat and has not emerged. Tutorial position, that's probably server. We've got some new commands, and he's doing network tests. So I don't think there's anything we really need to update at the moment. And I probably don't want to update my client just yet because he might be planning some server synchronization stuff with that. So I kind of want to get that published, but I'm sort of in this loop right now. where I keep doing new things that affect the stuff I was sort of preparing to put out. So OpenSea failed at typing is good. Curse Assist needed the name adjustment, which I haven't fully tested yet. Name Assist is new. Well, it's probably a good time for a break. And then we'll look at, so we got that. We fixed that. Oh, we haven't seeded it yet. This is the way I keep to-do lists. All right, I'm going to take a break, and we'll look at that next.
Slide. How far down does this go?
Oh, very far down, very far. It's gonna take you a good 5 minutes to get down. Have fun.
Oh man, I think I'm using that power while I'm sitting here
I'm
spinning my
going
wheels.
pretty quick. Don't
Maybe
you
I should
worry.
be...
I just hope you went the right way. There's 2 ways to go at one point.
Oh yeah, we hit a regular old
pretty
cave
far
system.
down, so
Come on, come on, come
pretty
on.
sure.
I'm on a...
Oh my god, no. Did I just destroy all of my turrets? Oh. Oh.
It's because you're trying to call the read passwords on the list and not each individual object in there. So the list doesn't have the read passwords method, it's actually the objects inside the list. So if you say, for example, readers index 0.read passwords, I think that would work. So I think that's your issue there. So just do a for loop and
Rip. Now he didn't get XP. He did, but not much. Because he didn't kill it. Then let's kill this thing.
Alright, welcome back. We're not actually doing exactly this. We want... we'll just do random names. So in the names, well, in living life, we have some random sources. Do these ever get seeded? Reseed RID. Oh, set remap seed. That's a different thing. Okay. Time seed. Get current time. So then where do... And we don't want to be reseeding it all the time. You know what? There is a thing where we load up the files. Read file name. Init names. Get current time, and then I think we can do name source dot reseed. Not declared in the scope. So does that mean game? And that seems like it would be a really big dependency. But I don't know how else you get time. I mean, I guess I could seed it, like make this not static and pull it in from outside somewhere. But it really seems like that should be kind of a thing to that package. Okay, I'm pretty sure that those are not names I was seeing before. Also, we can just run again. Yep. Okay, so we got that. I mean, I guess I could publish them, and then if I need to cut it down, or I could set up documentation for these things. And then if there's stuff I need to retest and revise, oh well, we have to. Oh no, I've been going into automatic commit mode. Oh man. And we're doing patches. So refs. We have 2 commits. We need to just uncommit changes into our local directory. Uncommit. Reset hard. Revert. Undo, leaving everything else intact. But leave your files intact. Resetting everything. Undo the act of committing, but leave the work tree in your files intact. So git tag temp, just in case. And we actually want to go back 2 commits. Okay, a bunch of stuff. And an STG series. Okay, run name assist. STG refresh. Get status. Get log. Okay, refs patch. Get stash pop. Get diff. Okay, that's just a random. STG refresh. Okay. So the series is all of this stuff. So we can start preparing that as if everything will be perfect. And I guess I can just rewind series a little bit if that's an issue. So we want to export custom get ignore to name assist. CD patches master. Edit patches master. Turn log. So this is going to be extensive. Player name completion, in particular with name suggestion for I am and you are. So I could have potentially done some of this like now, but I did have to continue testing some of this last week. So edit patches readme. So custom get ignore. Safe field on typing. That should be fine. Nations of player and grave names. Can recognize full names for curse or the beginning first names otherwise. It's a little hard to explain, but name assist suggest names or name suggests random names or name completions by pressing tab with I am or you are in the safe field. So that's setting that up for a possible V9. Get add. This is a general update as well as all the line numbers changed in the patches. Improved. Player name matching. Added name suggestion. be notes. Oh, I'm done with that. So auto update's a big project. Hints detection is a big project. I haven't enlisted stuttering. I might be kind of out of easy programming projects right now. You ever think might be more of a hammock time thing? We could do some brainstorming. Or I guess we could go try to understand the thermal models and see if we could suggest anything there. Although really that comes down to more of a gameplay thing. You could do a little bit of brainstorming, and if there's anything major you could do with the UI, but it's like a really nasty problem. What do we call this? See, is there a... No, there's no like UX, user interface. So I almost have a separate document for this. That is old stuff. So we've got a lot of contextual stuff. So we have, well, we have actions and we have, we have UI methods. So there are like interactions. We've got like click, right click. There's this screen lock. We've got other keys. Tab suggestions, e.g. tab suggestions. I mean, talking is an enter for... there is... context, such as say field open, screen locked. Those are the only ones I can think of right now. And we've got targets. So you have, we can select a tile. We can select an object in tile. We can sometimes select an object in container in tile. We can select a person in a tile. We can select yourself in particular. You can do clothing. On a person. You can do, then there's things like, I guess context also gets down to item in hand. You know, like, is it edible, container, containable, and that sort of comes back down to these as well. Pickupable. Clothing on a person, container, clothing. we have large objects that can be blocking things. Multiple candidates. We have large objects. We have people covering objects. We have objects covering people. Objects covering objects. So the basic interface is that current interface is something like, ideally everything is click. So if it is, well, I mean, technically, like, empty hand is sort of a thing in the crafting system. But I think most things have bare hand transitions. And that's actually an explicit thing. That's yeah, because you can pick up a tree. So it is, well, the basic system is person, then object, then tile. Pretty much universally. Right click special, which does, well, put down, oh, and move. And tile is generally move. Put down, take from container, kill, swap if it's on an object. Is it, this actually kind of needs to be a table, doesn't it? And I think my spreadsheet is rather terrible in the dark. So we do have context. Click, right click. keys. I mean, it ends up being a couple of keys. Like you've got tab, you've got enter, and there's space are the ones in the base game. So we have, and then this doesn't even include context. So we've got on a, well, there's person, there's overlapped people, there's objects behind people. Person, object, tile, object, container, clothing, container. I don't think you can ever remove clothing. It's only yourself. And then there's holding, not holding. Well, nothing is nothing, so holding, edible. Well, now it's everything again because it's a context. Person holding something edible. No, kill is an action. So clicking on a person, I'm not sure it does anything. To move? This is pick up or use, depending if you've got something. But pick up is really a special case of use, so... tile, no, move there. If it's a container, we attempt to pick up container. Oh, and then we've got... I guess you considered plates and things containers. If it's clothing on a person, it's remove clothing. It's clothing container. I'm actually not sure about that one. Well, it depends if you've got an object or not. So that is... oh, actually, yeah, object container. It's pickup container or insert object. So actually, clothing container falls under object container. Yeah, because actually this is pickup object. So that is eat feed depending. And I want to map this out and see if there's anything better we can do. So right-clicking a person, does that do anything? Object, well, tile can be put down, failing over to move. Right-click an object. I'm actually not sure. That might be the default use. Remove swap. And then these don't really interact with this actually. Person, right click, if you have a tool, it's kill. Or a weapon. Well, I'm not sure what the default action is. And the pain points are navigating trees, which I've got pretty well patched. Horse cart's a little annoying. We've got objects behind people. Screen lock works okay, but messes up eating. And left-right confusion is the other one. Left-right confusion. Left-right confusion. Backpack versus eat is sometimes an issue. So how would you rearrange the left-right system? You would want to try and arrange things. Well, so one thing is that we've got move overlaid on left click, which is use if it's an object. You could do set down on that action if you had some other way to move, or actually, is that a... I can test some of this stuff. I have to get into test scenes to do backpacks and things. Okay, so no, actually, I want to know. Okay, so actually, right click with no object is not a move. A person might be the same. Right click a person, left click a person, you do walk to the tile. Object on object. Oh, that can be a swap. So sometimes that gets confusing. So you have got distinguishing swap versus attempt to combine. You've got distinguishing move and put down. Objects and containers frequently get confusing. We could do one button to move, one button to move, one button to use. And this is definitely a move. Yeah, so right click is kind of supposed to be this extra alt action for certain cases. But once you start getting into swapping items, well, put down is pretty common. Swapping in containers, it starts to become you're just clicking right click all the time. And you start getting everything messed up. So then right click is your basic move. You have to distinguish object versus tile. Because you might need to move. And then there could be any number of people on there, so you have to be able to distinguish people. Self might be a special case in terms of being able to access the backpack as well. If you click on yourself, it's eat, put in backpack. If you right click, it's, well, for another person, it's probably nothing. There's a berry bush around here. Do I need a rock? Onion will work. Okay, so that ends up being a drop if it's an item. If it's yourself and you right click, it is, I mean, pretty much backpack. Or get something from backpack. And that kind of falls under container. Oh, person edible. Actually, that was, wow. You know, that's a drop now. So the big ones would be if we could do some other kind of movement. Then we could have our left click on ground be like set down and maybe some other things. Swapping items. I mean, sometimes you don't want to necessarily combine them. Or do we make like combine? Well, you could make combine the action, but that's also a super common thing. Much like swapping containers is a super common thing. It's like the whole action of the game is combining things, and a lot of things that feel like picking up are technically interactions. We're just going to be, yeah, getting movement off of there. We're just kind of insert bare ground is a more common interaction. And then you've got the click priority things of people and... Yeah, click priority is another one, but I've been using... So that's probably a brainstorming project in and of itself. Unless you made it so... Well, no, even if you cared about whether it could interact with a person, you can still be trying to put a berry in a bowl behind someone's head. Yeah, so I kind of figured this might be kind of a hammock time thing. So I'm doing some distinguishing there by the screen lock. It's like you don't want to get too modal either. Oh, and the base game also, well, hold click is only run. But she got to wondering about the way Astroneer, and it annoys us because you have to do hold so often. And that doesn't apply to holding right click, right? Yeah. But that's run. Why did I get a reset there? Maybe because I crossed my path? I don't know. Well, that was more of a controller style hold a button. But we could do hold for certain unusual actions. Eating is pretty common, but it'd be nice to have good control of it. Actually, making feed a special action. Well, you'd have to wait until pointer release. If you're going to do a hold action, you have to wait until pointer release. Unless one's a superset of the other. Eating is... yeah, like if it was a berry and a person with a bowl behind them, you did want to feed them, it would go into the bowl before you had the opportunity to complete the hold. You could bring in random other keys to do things. You have a button to move, and a button for that, and a button for that, which destroys, well, there's a certain amount of elegance to the interface that has been diluted a little bit as you've gotten more like plates and some of the swap abilities. Swapping and container cycling and stacks of plates. I just mean you're using the right click a lot more than you used to. So yeah, you have things like pick up container, remove thing from container. How do you distinguish that? Pick up stack of plates, pick up a plate. Put down knife, kill someone. Combine two objects, swap their positions. And so it's okay, great. We've got two buttons. We have two things to distinguish. But you just really have to be keeping track of which thing you're using at which time. So, I mean, like, would it be useful to have a couple of extra keys so you have the button that's always move and the button that's always use and the button that's always put down, button that's always eat or feed? So we get people claiming accidents on kill versus drop. And I'm sure accidents do happen. Or give, so to speak. Use versus swap follows put down fairly well. I guess insert container versus swap, or let's see, there's insert in container versus swap something to container can get a little bit confusing. And I'm not sure there's an easy way to distinguish that one, because it all depends on whether you're thinking about, I want to do something with the container, or I'm thinking, but I want to do something with the stuff in the container. Now, are you? Yeah, they're both starving. I'm not really testing anything right now. And we do need to interact with, you can't use a more of a cursor style where it's like you go someplace, interact with tile you're on. Because you do sometimes have to interact with non-pathable objects, and it's other times it's handy to be able to interact with the thing next to you. So you can't just say there's a thing to interact with the tile you're standing on. I mean, chopping a tree. That's neighboring object. What if it was interact only? And you had something special to move? There's a lot of times where you're just exploring or navigating. That could turn it into a toggle, which could be problematic in and of itself. You could have screen lock be always interact with the tile object. That doesn't make any account for interact with people, and I do keep trying to eat while I'm screen locked. You could have some sort of what if there was default and then you had like modifier keys where like tile layer, aka move, object layer, interact with it, and people layer, we want to feed someone or whatever. Patch could get gnarly. But I mean, I guess we could just do some pre-filtering of the hit detection. And say, well, if it's not a people layer, take them out. If it's not object layer, just we didn't hit anything, move there. Might still have to check pathable. But presumably that's part of pathing. That could be an interesting, that could be an experiment. Maybe for next week. Tile, object, person. And that could take over the click behind heads thing. And you even have to, well, yeah, the problem with taking over screen lock is that I keep trying to feed myself with it. Of course, then if you're smithing or something, you've got screen lock and you've got some other modifier for objects. So it gets a little bit awkward. Anyway, hopefully we'll have something bigger to work on next time. If everything passes, I can publish patches. But I think that's it for now. Get that off for next time. Thanks for all the hosts. Okay, that's a possibility. Oh, hey, Hobbs. How's it going? I think I finally sorted out the name completions. I think we'll have to test it. Still not having really good ideas about how to fix some of the UI confusions, but so it goes. Oh, and schedule. This is normally when I'm streaming. I guess I have been wrapping up earlier on Saturdays. I don't go into Step Mania, and we didn't get caught up in a project today. But yeah, if you're looking for someplace cool to hang out, Andersama is hacking on some OBS stuff. I think he might actually be an OBS developer. I'm not sure. I've only done scripting for it. Well, short of one patch. But yeah, if you're looking for someplace cool to hang out, that's someplace cool to hang out. Thanks for hanging out with me. We'll try out these patches this afternoon, and yeah, bye.